All right, guys, coming in with a story. Virginia Giuffre, if I'm saying that right, an outspoken survivor of Jeffrey Epstein's abuse, has died by suicide. Now, if you guys don't remember, she was one of the accusers of Jeffrey Epstein and the whole, Jeffrey Epstein Island and all of the celebrities and all that stuff. And Prince Andrews, I think she was one of the main accusers of Prince Andrews as well. She has ended up dying, or according to the MSNBC article, it says that she has died by suicide. I don't know if I believe that one, um, but let's continue to read a little bit more. Virginia Giuffre, a prominent survivor of financier Jeffrey Epstein's abuse and an advocate for sex trafficking victims, died by suicide in her home in Australia, her family said Friday. Giuffre's family announced the news of her death in a statement saying the toll of abuse is so heavy that it became unbearable for Virginia to handle its weight. I wonder how much they paid that family to say that. Let's continue. Giuffre, 41, was one of the most outspoken women who accused Epstein of sexual abuse and sex trafficking. She said she was a troubled teenager trying to rebuild her life when she met Epstein's associate Ghislaine Maxwell, who roped her into their circle as Maxwell groomed her for Epstein's abuse, which lasted years. Epstein, she said, then passed her around like a platter of fruit to his powerful friends. That's crazy. Let's see. Jaffe had named Britain's Prince Andrew as one of the men who sexually abused her. She sued him in federal court in 2021, alleging that he was forced to have sex with him multiple times when she was 17 years old. Andrew denied her allegations, but the fallout became a national scandal in the UK, and she was stripped of, or and he was stripped of his royal titles in early 2022. Andrew settled with Jaffe for an undisclosed sum 1 month later and did not admit to any of the allegations. Jaffe also hit Maxwell with a defamation suit in 2015, and the two settled in 2017 for an undisclosed amount. Epstein died by suicide in a jail. Okay, and we know the rest is history. He went on to die, so-called suicide, and Maxwell is, I believe she served in the article it says she's serving 20 years in prison, which is crazy. But I wonder if she's actually even in prison. She might be in Israel somewhere. I don't know. I think that's where he went if he's still alive. But I'll go ahead and play the news clip of it, and I'll come back with some more clips.
The scope of Jeffrey Epstein's crimes finally came to light. Virginia Giuffre was the woman at the center of the story, publicly sharing painful details of her own experience. In a statement to NBC News tonight, her family announcing the 41-year-old mother of three took her own life, writing, "She lost her life to suicide after being a lifelong victim of sexual abuse." Giuffre said she was recruited by Epstein's girlfriend Ghislaine Maxwell when she was just 14 years old. According to Giuffre, it was the start of years of sexual abuse by Epstein, Maxwell, and their friends.
It was that constant, we own the police. You can't run. You can't tell anybody. We'll never be held accountable for this.
At age 17, Giuffre said Maxwell and Epstein directed her to have sex multiple times with Prince Andrew, an allegation the prince denied. Giuffre sued, and she settled with the prince in 2022, receiving an undisclosed amount of money. Epstein and Maxwell were both charged with sex trafficking. Epstein took his own life in federal prison before standing trial. Maxwell was convicted and given a 20-year sentence. In one of her last social media posts earlier this month, Giuffre said she was hospitalized after a car accident and was gravely injured, posting a disturbing photo. But days later, she was released. Tonight, the family says they are heartbroken, writing Giuffre was heroic and will always be remembered for her incredible courage and loving spirit. Stephanie Gosk, NBC News.
All right, so you seen that clip? They're basically saying that it was a suicide, or this is what the news is reporting. But she posted this tweet a little bit after she was in a wreck in 2019. She says, "I am making it publicly known that in no way, shape, or form that I am suicidal. I have made this known to my therapist, GP. If something happens to me in the sake of my family, do not let this go away and help me to protect them. Too many evil people want to see me quieted." Man. So she definitely probably was getting those threats, but I believe she just kept going and pressing and pushing these issues when maybe it might have been time for her to bow out, because we still haven't got those flight logs and the tapes and all of the other stuff of who was on the jet and who did what, and what's in the document. So shout out to Trump. He's doing a little something, but I think that's a little bit above his pay grade. I don't think that can be released. Uh, especially with the CIA, FBI, and all that these other alphabet groups. They have their hands tied up. I think was it Mossad as well with Israel. So definitely something that's probably not going to come out. But let's look at a little bit more. Okay, yeah, I think that's all I have on that. But I do have this last clip that I'll share before I let you guys go. This clip is one of the other accusers who is still alive, who just made a recent recording talking about the situation, and she's basically saying that she is not suicidal and that if anything happens to her, then you know what happened. But y'all like, comment, share, and subscribe. Listen to the clip, and I'll holler back at y'all on another one. Peace.
My name is Julia Bryant, and I live in Cape Town, South Africa. I was kidnapped by Jeffrey Epstein 20 years ago. I am not suicidal, and I never ever will be. I also do not do any drugs. I met Epstein when he was in Africa with Bill Clinton. We all know about the Clinton body count. Another concerning fact is that one of the main women, a very brave angel, Carolyn, who testified against Ghislaine Maxwell, was found dead 6 months ago. It wasn't in the media until a few days ago. The only reason it was put in the media was because of a very, very brave Epstein victim. She doesn't want to be named. But there are other Epstein victims who've also died suspiciously. Carolyn was a beautiful, amazing, brave woman who planned a life on a chicken farm with her family. Instead, she was found dead in a hotel room. I want to speak out for safety and for other victims, because it's very frightening when the media won't cover any of the victims' stories. A lot of my story hasn't been told in the media, and it's the same with a lot of other victims. And we actually all feel quite frightened with everything that's been going on. And as we know, this is not the first suspicious death related to the evil Maxwell empire. They also used to run the media. So maybe that's why victim stories are not being told to the media, and the victims of Epstein feel very frightened. Please all pray for Carolyn's family, and thank you for listening.